Well, Thessaloniki is a resilient city in a sense that it has a presence for more than 2,000 years. But the last 2 or 3 decades, I think that something went wrong and we lost this attribute. So thanks to our participation in the 100 Resilient Cities Network, now we are able to examine exactly what lessons we should learn on what we did right, but also what we did wrong, and try to rethink the way our systems work based through the resilience lens.
The definition of resilience within the city of Paris was a challenge. We worked with stakeholders, internal, external stakeholders about it, and we conclude that the most important resilience we had to work on was social resilience, human resilience, and not infrastructure or system resilience. Of course, the future strategy is going to work on both, but the backbone of our strategy will be based on the principle that social cohesion and citizen involvement, solidarity among citizens is the best way to address any kind of shocks or crises. And so we really want within the network to get input, ideas from other cities on that field.
For Medellin, it's very important to understand that resilience is more than being a city that has been able to overcome the causes and effects of violence as a result of our internal conflict, but how all those shocks and stresses are interrelated, how people that have been displaced ended up in marginalized areas where they have to face many other risks like landslides, flooding, economical turmoil, and all of that. So the first lessons for our city is that every single shock and stresses is interconnected.
Athens, the city of Athens, the people of Athens feel that they are resilient anyway because it's a very old city. So when they hear the word resilience, they say, we're resilient. We've been around for thousands of years, so we must be resilient in some ways. But when we kind of talked more about it, because we had interviews, several hundred interviews from people of Athens, trying to identify what is it really that makes them feel resilient these days, it's that we have been in a very difficult economic crisis for the last 5 or 6 years, and people keep saying that Athens has stood on its feet. It's shaken a lot and it's had a really hard beating, but it's still standing on its feet. And people think that the reason it's standing on its feet is because of informal networks that people have built on their own in neighborhoods, related to work, related to socializing, related to pooling resources, 100 little things. Also a lot of things in the creative sector of society, young people pooling resources and doing creative things together that actually manage to keep the city on its feet, the city alive. And part of what they think would make the city more resilient is if the municipality, but also other parts of government would support these informal networks with know-how, with best practices, with whatever, not interfere necessarily, but actually work more with the grassroots movements and support what is already seemed to be an initiative that is really making this city resilient.
Well, resilience is part of my work. As a public health professor, we have really implemented many public health programs that are dealing with different comprehensive issues around refugee health, youth health, women's health. But within the resilience lens, I found this really more challenging and more of really powerful tool to really look at things from a resilience lens, where we should also not only do sectoral projects, but we need really to look how these projects are really interlinked with each other. So that was really my motivation to really join this kind of network where we can actually also learn from each other, inspire each other, despite the crisis that we are living in under the Israeli occupation. So we use as Palestinians to really do emergency projects, but we rarely, I would say in a few times, we stop and say, okay, what is really the vision and how we can really achieve this in a more comprehensive, holistic way, which really the resilience framework and lens allow us to do.
You know, resilience is actually is important for Amman and for every city. You know, resilience, it's the sense of having solution for everything. You know, building a resilient system is our objective. If you have a resilient system, you can face any risk, any challenge that the city faces. You know, the good thing about resilience is not addressing certain risks or certain challenges. You are strengthening the city in all aspects. So that's what's resilience. It's different than risk management, because risk management you have to identify the risk and do something about that. But making the city robust, making it integrated, and making all the solutions for all the systems, finding solutions for the systems, that's all about what resilience is about.
We are in the first stage of developing the strategy, but for Montreal, the strategy will be centered on the citizen and the neighborhoods. That's how we're going to define the strategy around them. When we want to, we say to our colleagues, it's to bounce back, to keep track and bounce back and learn from what's happening. That's like really simply how we define them. Because resiliency at first is a challenge of communication. People to explain it, it's the first challenge.
So Los Angeles is looking at both its shocks and its stresses, and we have more than 13 major shocks that we're susceptible to. Earthquakes and flooding and civil unrest and terrorism. But at the same time, we're really looking at a neighborhood level on what are our vulnerabilities. We have disparities in health and wealth and education attainment. And so trying to, create a neighborhood fabric that is stronger and safer on a day-to-day basis and blue sky days, so that when we have a bad day, we're able to bounce back and in fact, learn from this opportunity of assessing all of our vulnerabilities and our challenges and prepare for doing better in the future.